Hello everyone, this is the video on the left atrium and left ventricle. It is in sequence to our previous videos on the right side chambers of the heart. Welcome all, myself Dr. Ankit Khandelwal, MBBS and MS in Anatomy. This is my YouTube channel, Anatomy Explained. In this channel, we discuss all the important concepts and the videos of the human anatomy. So let us proceed to the topic, that is the left atrium and left ventricle. First, we will start with the left atrium. Left atrium is the chamber which receives the oxygenated blood from the lungs in the form of pulmonary veins, and which drains this blood into the left ventricle via the mitral valve or the left atrioventricular valve. Important concepts about the left atrium are that left atrium, it forms the posterior surface of the heart, which is also very importantly known as the base of the heart. So majority of the base or the posterior surface of the heart is formed by the left atrium. A very minor part is formed by the posterior part of the right atrium. So mainly base is by the left atrium. The second thing about this left atrium is that its walls are also as thin as the right atrium, but slightly thicker than the right atrium. So about its walls, that the walls of this atrium are thin. It is a chamber which is present on the left side of the heart. So the name is left atrium. Now let us quickly see at the images of the heart so that we can chalk out its location, though we have seen them also previously in our previous videos. So this is the anterior view of the heart. If this is the anterior view of the heart, then this right side is the right atrium forming the right border. This left border mainly formed by the left ventricle. Now this dotted line over here, this dotted structure over here, that roughly corresponds to our location of the left atrium, which is actually present posteriorly. So this is the anterior view, this would be the left atrium. Therefore it is also receiving these oxygenated blood from the lungs in the form of pulmonary veins, 2 on this side and 2 would be going to the right side. So total 4 pulmonary veins which are entering into the left atrium. This is what if we see it from the anterior aspect. But if we see it on the posterior aspect, then the left border goes over here and the right border goes over here. This is the location of our, which roughly corresponds to the left atrium. So this is your left atrium from the posterior side, and that forms the base or the posterior surface of the heart. And these are your left pulmonary veins, and these are the right pulmonary veins which are entering inside the left atrium, So this is the general location of the left atrium. It forms the posterior surface of the heart or base of the heart. Now about few of its features of the left atrium. So if you talk about the features of the left atrium, so location is done. Now what are the main features inside the left atrium? The walls are thin. Already discussed, the walls are thin. So there's, again, like in the right atrium we discussed, there's a posterior smooth part of the left atrium which is embryologically formed by the absorbed pulmonary veins. So posterior part of the left atrium is embryologically formed from the absorbed pulmonary veins, therefore it is very smooth. While there is a small appendage of the left atrium which is known as the left auricle, which actually goes anteriorly, and it sort of comes over here and it covers the outflow part of the right ventricle. So we have this over right ventricle over here, and this was the outflow part of the right ventricle in the form of pulmonary trunk. So this left auricle over here, it comes somewhat in the front side, and it covers the origin of the pulmonary trunk. Imagine this is the pulmonary trunk coming from the right ventricle. So this is your left auricle. So this left auricle is the only roughened part. It is only rough part of the left atrium. The rest all of the left atrium is smooth. But to differentiate it from the right atrium, we have to understand that in right atrium, as if you recall, that when we had a crista terminalis ridge on the inside, but here there is no such thing which is separating the smooth or the rough part. So there is no crista terminalis inside the left atrium. So it is normally totally, you can say, a smooth part, mainly formed by the absorption of the pulmonary veins, and this roughened part that is coming from the primitive atrial chamber. So embryologically, the rough part comes from the primitive atrial chamber. Okay, so this is how we divide the left atrium into the two parts. Now, apart from this, between the left atrium and right atrium, there is always going to be an interatrial septum. There's always going to be an interatrial septum. Now the location of this interatrial septum is important, that how is it located. So we have to understand that this interatrial septum is actually slightly oblique. Okay, so it runs from anterior to posterior. It is slightly oblique posteriorly and towards the right side. posteriorly and towards the right side. Now what does that implicate? That implicates us that this whole chamber, if you make an anterior line, that is the RA from anterior side, and this would be the LA, that is the dotted part from the posterior side, and this lines I'm making, that is our interatrial septum. So that is oblique and slightly it goes slightly to the right side once it goes from anterior to posterior. So the direction is like this once it goes from. So what does it implicate? It implicates us that the most of the, or you can say left atrium, most part of the left atrium also lies just posterior to the right atrium. So right atrium is right in front of the left atrium. So this implies as a fact that majority of the part of LA lies posterior to RA, that is right atrium. So if you remember that when we studied about the video on the heart, we talked about the location of the chambers. Then we said that the right-sided chambers are anterior to the left-sided chambers. So therefore we can see the RA is anterior to LA comparatively, and same RV is comparatively anterior to LV. What does that mean? That RV is forming most of the sternocostal surface, the LV is forming most of the diaphragmatic surface and the left surface. It's present slightly posterior. RA is forming the right border from anterior side. LA, that is left atrium, is forming the posterior surface or the base of the heart. So the right-sided chambers are slightly anterior to the left-sided chambers. That is one thing. Okay. The other thing which we can understand inside the LA. So if we go inside the LA, that is inside the left atrium, there's also a connection between the LA and the LV, and that is your left side atrioventricular orifice or atrioventricular wall. Now this left side atrioventricular, left AV wall, are actually having two cusps, so we call them as bicuspid valve. It is also in the shape of a bishop mitre, so we call it as a mitral valve. So we call it as a mitral bicuspid. Now bicuspid says that it has two cusps, so it has an anterior cusp and it has a posterior cusp. It has an anterior and a posterior cusp. Okay, we'll talk about them a little bit more when we go into the left ventricle, because these cusps and their chordae tendineae and papillary muscles are located more inside the left ventricle. Okay, so the orifice over here, the left AV wall, which is actually inside the left AV orifice, that orifice's length is around 2 cm, slightly smaller than the right AV orifice, that is your tricuspid. So its length is slightly smaller than that on the right side. So that completes our little bit of introduction of LA. First thing, posterior surface or the base of the heart, majority of it is smooth, only a small part of it is roughened, that is the left auricle, which surrounds the origin or the starting point of the pulmonary trunk. Okay, then the septum is slightly oblique, so most of the LA lies behind RA, and you have this left AV orifice or left AV, which is covered by this left AV valve. There are two cusps, bicuspid or the mitral valve, which will open down into the left ventricle. So now where we come, we reach from left atrium, now we go into the left ventricle. Now left ventricle is the thickest of all the four chambers. Why? Because its outflow part is the aorta that has to pump the blood into the all of the all the arteries of the body. So it is a high vascular resistance which it has to overcome. Therefore, the walls are thick. Even the LV walls, as we discussed the RV also, the LV walls are around 3 times thicker than the RV walls, that is the right ventricle walls. Okay. Now about its location, few important features that we already have covered. That left ventricle forms nearly entire of the left border of the heart, and some will also talk about the left surface, because the left border is somewhat rounded, so we can call it as a left border, or even we can call it as it's forming majority of the left surface of the heart. Okay. Now left border, left surface, it is the thickest chamber. It is the thickest chamber, as we just discussed about the left ventricle being the thickest chamber. Now what are the features inside? Now if you look at it inside, it is so many similarities with the right ventricle. That is, it has an inflow channel. It is an inflow channel. That was the one which we just discussed, that coming from the LA, that was the inflow channel that was to the mitral valve. So the oxygenated blood, this whole left side of the heart is carrying the oxygenated blood from the lungs, oxygenated, from the LA oxygenated, into the LV oxygenated. So inflow is through the mitral valve from the LA, from the left atrium, and its outflow is going to be where? Its outflow is your aorta. Obviously there is going to be the aortic valve. And that outflow part is again smooth. As the outflow of the RV was smooth, in that RV we call that as the infundibulum. Here we are going to call it as a vestibule. Okay, so outflow part, vestibule, is a smooth part, inflow part, mitral wall is going inside the walls of the left ventricle, is going to be slightly roughened, and that part, as we recall, the right ventricle, that is known as your trabeculae carni. That is known as trabeculae carni. The trabeculae carni, or the muscular ridges, are slightly finer in LV, but they are more in a number compared to RV. So that is one difference. I repeat again, they are finer as compared to RV, but they are more in number compared to RV. The trabeculae carni of the LV. So you have an inflow, you have an outflow. Now, which is more anterior? Which is more anterior about the, if you compare the inflow and the outflow, then the outflow, that is more anterior. If you again look at the heart over here, if you again look at the heart. Now, LV was present where? LV was present on the posterior side, that we just discussed, that the LA, that is the left atrium, was present on the posterior surface, that is your base of the heart. So obviously, when the LA is opening into the LV, it has to be slightly more on the posterior side. So that is more on the posterior side. The area of what? The area of your mitral wall. The area of the mitral wall. Now, as the blood is going inside over here, and as the blood wants to come out of it, we know that we make the aorta like this, and we also make the pulmonary trunk like this, and the two pulmonary arteries, and the ligamentum arteriosum. Therefore, as we see that the aorta is lying more on the anterior side, therefore the outflow part has to be more on the anterior side, and this would roughly correspond to your aortic wall. This roughly correspond to the aortic wall. Okay, so somewhere in between this, because this LV is present more on the posterior side, so it is not completely from the, we are looking at the anterior aspect. We are looking at the anterior, but you have to imagine it as a 3D. So this LV chamber is slightly more on the posterior side, as it is forming more of the diaphragmatic surface. So this is your part of LV. Now, if you look from here, if you suppose your eyes over, if you look from here, and if you cut it open, the chambers of the LV, then how will they appear like? Now, if we try to cut it open, then imagine this is the whole left surface of the heart, or left side of the heart, and you're cutting it open. If you cut it open, then what you're going to see is, over here we have this as the area of the mitral wall. So this would be the area of the mitral wall, that is our bicuspid wall. So this chamber is obviously our LA, that chamber is obviously our LV. We can make the walls a little bit more thicker, just to tell you, okay, that this is our LV, the walls are thicker. Now what happens, now look carefully over here, that the mitral wall was bicuspid wall. So do you have two walls, that is you have two cusps. So there is going to be an anterior cusp over here, there is going to be an anterior cusp over here. Okay, and that anterior cusp, you also have somewhat a posterior cusp over here. So you have two cusps over here on both the sides. Okay, now inside, just a second, yes, so inside the LV, in connection to this cusp, you have the papillary muscles. So here you have these as the, say, the lying more anteriorly are the anterior group of papillary muscles. These are the anterior group of papillary muscles, and lying more posteriorly, these are the posterior group of papillary muscles. Now, as we also know that these papillary muscles are going to be connected to these cusps via the chordae tendineae. So remember that each papillary muscle is not totally devoted to each cusp. Instead, each papillary muscle is connected somewhat to the anterior cusp and somewhat to the posterior cusp. Same goes for the posterior papillary muscle. So these papillary muscles with the chordae tendineae are connected to both of the cusp over here. That is the bicuspid wall, or the mitral wall over here, in connection with the LA to LV. So this is inside the LV, and then it comes. Then what comes? Then comes your outflow channel. The outflow channel will be going like this over here. Imagine there are the three semilunar cusps over here, and these semilunar cusps are your aortic cusps. You have around three semilunar cusps. We are around three semilunar cusps in the aorta. Okay. So the point over here, which we extra point, which can take a message from here, is that between this outflow part, which is known as the aortic vestibule, which is known, this whole area will be known as the aortic vestibule over here. Between the aortic vestibule and the incoming part, the structure which is separating the inflow and the outflow, the structure which is separating the inflow channel into the LV from the outflow channel from the LV, is your anterior cusp of mitral valve, is your anterior cusp of the mitral valve. So you have to imagine that this blue color cusp over here is the lines in between the inflow and the outflow. Now what does that mean? It means that, let me make the inflow and outflow this red color. This is the inflow over here. We can't see correct, but that is outflow. So it means that the anterior cusp of the mitral valve is going to be smooth on both the sides, because on both the sides the blood is flowing. So it is the cusp which is dividing on one side more anteriorly, the outflow part, that is the aortic part or the vestibule part, and little bit posteriorly you have the inflow part. So this cusp, anterior cusp, is going to be smooth on both the sides. Okay, so that is one point. And how do we differentiate? So there are two group of papillary muscles, and then comes your interventricular septum. Again, the interventricular septum is going to be oblique. So one point over here, interventricular septum. In the LA we talked about the intraatrial septum. Here is the interventricular septum. So interventricular septum is again going to be the oblique. Going to be oblique. It is between the anterior IV groove and the posterior IV groove. So you know that these are not straight; they are slightly oblique. So if you remember, then this was the anterior interventricular groove, and that was the posterior interventricular groove, and between them runs our interventricular septum. Now interventricular septum has two components: a larger, bigger, major, thicker lower one, that is the muscular part. So it's present below, and it is a thicker one, and a thinner and upper one, that is known as the membranous part, So above it you have this small part, thin part, that is known as the membranous part. So this is the membranous part of IV septum, that is the muscular part of IV septum. This membranous part of IV septum, though we call it as IV septum, but take a note over here that this membranous part of IV septum is separating or dividing not just between the two ventricles, but more or less it is dividing or separating the left ventricle on one side to the right atrium, Okay, so it is also called as a atrioventricular septum. So this membranous part, so there's one more name over here for you to remember. This membranous part of the IV septum is also your atrioventricular septum. Now which ventricle? The right atria and the left ventricle. Okay, so that is your membranous part of the IV septum, slightly oblique, and that is the position, that is its position. Now coming from this aorta, that was a whole left ventricle. Its TS also you can remember, as we talked that if we take this TS from here in the cavities, that the if it's circular, then it is we are looking inside the LV, but if it is crescentic, then we are looking inside the RV, because the interventricular septum is pushed towards the RV, because the walls are more thicker on the LV, so therefore the septum is pushed towards the RV. So the inside the cavity, the TS, it's look crescentic in shape, that we already discussed in the case of RV, but here in the LV it is circular in shape. The walls are thicker. Okay, so these are few differences. And moving from the LV, what we have this aorta. So let us look a little about the ascending aorta. So this is supposedly the ascending aorta, which is coming up directly outflow part from the LV, and it has semilunar cusp over here, the three semilunar cusp over here. So what if you look at from say above, then these semilunar cusps, they will form the three aortic sinuses. These are going to form the aortic sinuses. So if you are looking in this direction, they are going to form the aortic sinuses. Okay, so these cusps, they actually form the cup-like, these cusp or the walls, they form the cup-like depressions or on the from the distal side. So these are known as aortic sinuses, and what comes out from these aortic sinuses are your coronary arteries. So you have few openings over here. So what are the names of these aortic sinuses? First of all, let us call them as names. This is said to be the anterior aortic sinus, that is said to be the left-sided posterior aortic sinus, and this is said to be the right-sided posterior aortic sinus. Again, this is what when we look from this side, inside the aorta, it appears like this. So what happens is that when, suppose, imagine this is the LV over here. So when the LV will contract, the blood will actually go inside the aorta, supplying the whole body. But when the LV goes into diastole, some amount of blood in the aorta, it comes back and it fills these sinuses. So it is during the diastole, that the sinuses are filled with the blood, and from the sinuses there are openings These openings are for the right coronary artery and the left coronary artery. So it is during the diastole phase of the heart that the coronary arteries are filled with blood, and then they supply the whole heart. Then they supply the whole heart. These are aortic sinuses: anterior, left posterior, right posterior. Also, anterior is also sometimes known as the right, left posterior is known as the left one, and the right posterior is simply called as the posterior. So the names, but yes, they are three sinuses, and this is how they are shaped. This is sort of same thing in the pulmonary wall also, but there you don't have the openings for the coronary arteries. Coronary arteries are the openings inside the aortic sinuses, the right, left one, or the anterior one, and the left posterior. Anterior, the left posterior. Okay. Now this aorta, where does it start? So a couple of surface markings over here is important. So what is the starting point of this ascending aorta? And then you all know that it forms the arch of aorta. It forms the arch of aorta. So where does it end? So ascending aorta is from where to where? So ascending aorta, if we talk, then it starts where? It starts around the third intercostal space on the left side, close to the sternal margin. Close to the sternal margin. And where will it end? It ends nearly on the right half of the sternal angle. Sternal angle, if you remember, the junction between the manubrium and the body, that was a sternal angle. That was a sternal angle. So if you just recall a second over here, I know this is very small, but try to. Okay, so this is the third intercostal. So ascending aorta starts right from here, and this would be the ascending aorta, and then at the around the right half of sternal angle you have the arch of aorta, which will go just behind the manubrium. So this is the ascending aorta having the aortic sinuses. And yes, we have few dilatations also. Last point over here we can consider that what are the few dilatations inside the ascending aorta. Obviously there are around 4 dilatations. Now what are these 4 dilatations? 3 dilatations are your aortic sinuses that we have just seen, that these are the 3 dilatations. The 4th dilatation over there is known as the bulb of aorta. It is known as the bulb of aorta. So what happens is that as the LV wall is the thickest, so when it goes into systole, there's a lot of pressure which goes into that blood, into that flow of blood which is going. So as that blood strikes the ascending aorta, it forms there's a wall, that is the anterior wall of the ascending aorta, more on the right side, which bears all the brunt of that blood which is coming from the left ventricle. So it forms a small swelling over here, a small bulb over here, that is known as the bulb of aorta. So it is the site in the ascending aorta, more in the anterior, or you can say the anterior wall close to the right side, we have that small bulb of aorta. Okay, now this is a site where it's more prone for getting dilatations or aneurysms in the ascending aorta. Remember, the aortic aneurysms are very common. This is one of the sites, that is the bulb of aorta in the anterior wall of the ascending aorta, which bears the brunt of the blood just coming from below, like full pressure from the left ventricle. So these are few swellings inside the ascending aorta. Okay, so that completes all the 4 chambers. I hope this was a quick and nice revision of all these 4 chambers. So if you liked it, then press the like button. Else if you want to share, you share it, write comments about the videos and what else topics you want. And if you have not yet subscribed, then consider subscribing it. That's all from my side. Dr. Ankit Khandelwal, Anatomy Expert. Thank you so much.